If you're trying to move forward and advance in your career, it really comes from your habits. It's that way with everything in life. If you're trying to advance in your health or in your relationship or in your finances, your habits are the bedrock. Now, I'll be honest, whenever I would hear a speaker or reading a book that it all comes from your habits, it would just make me crazy. I hated hearing that because it made me feel guilty. Because I'd always feel like, well, I've got some good habits, but I've got some not so great habits. And like I could never be good enough. Staying in that place of overwhelming guilt is not a strategy for advancing and moving forward. You got to have some strategies for doing it. You got to have some specifics for doing it. So we're going to talk about some of those. What I will debunk right now is the conventional wisdom that it takes 21 days to form a new habit. It takes 28 days to, these are some of the words, some of the numbers that you hear out there. There's new research that does debunk that, that says, you know what? There's no number you can put on it. It depends on the habit. If it's something like going to the gym, it actually takes 6 months. If it's something like you work in a hospital and just the reminder to do all that hand washing takes a few weeks to form that new habit. So let's look at 3 ways, no matter what the habit and what the amount of time that it's going to take. Let's look at 3 ways to help you to get there. First, if you want to advance in any way in your life, and particularly in your career, it's really going to come from your habits. And there's a Wharton study that points out that self-bribery is actually a very viable way to help yourself to form a new habit. So, for example, if you want to go to the gym, in the study, they had a control group that they gave the control group a $25 gift card and they encouraged them to go to the gym. So that's a form of bribery. And that was our control group. And then they had another group and they said, okay, we're going to give you a guilty pleasure of some kind of pulp fiction novel. Maybe it's the Hunger Games, maybe it's the Twilight series. And those were some of the ones that were included. And they loaded them on an iPod, and they only gave the study participants, that second group, they only gave them the iPod when they went to the gym. And what they found was that the people who could listen to something that was a little bit more light and pleasurable at the gym, 51% higher gym attendance. That's pretty big. But for you, let's say it's work. You want to elevate in your career, so you want to get more timely with your projects, for example. That's a habit. You want to do the tough projects in the morning, for example, that you want to tie it with something that would be maybe a guilty pleasure. You want to tie it to something pleasurable. So maybe if lattes are your pleasure, then rather than getting them every day just normally, you're going to link them to tough projects, or you're going to link them to, I did the harder project in the morning. If pedicures or manicures are your pleasure, then again, you're going to link them to something that's hard to do. And by doing that, you're going to change ultimately, no matter how many days it takes, but you're going to keep up with this, and you're going to change some neurocircuitry in there that just gets you more used to doing the hard thing. And then you form this habit, and now you're doing it naturally. And now you're elevating your life. In this case, you're elevating your career. Second, improving your habits is one of the best ways to improve your career. First, we make our habits, and then our habits make us. With better habits, you get more done, people see what you're doing, you're more likely to be that candidate for the promotion. So Robert Cialdini, famous psychologist, and Tim Church, a medical doctor, came together to do some research, and they found that having that social component, being on the buddy system with somebody else who's looking to form their habits and change their habits, is one of the absolute best ways. You're much more likely to get traction towards shifting those habits and reaching those goals if you've got someone. So it's not just somebody that's just sort of randomly or vaguely cheering you on from the sidelines. It's someone who's in there with you, that the two of you are, maybe you've got direct reports and you want to get in the habit of giving more timely feedback, or giving better feedback. And so you've learned a new feedback approach, a new feedback model. It feels a little scary to do it, but rather than just turning a blind eye to things that you need to give feedback on, you want to get some accountability on that. With this buddy, you're going to talk about your goals together. You're going to check in on a regular basis, at least weekly together. You might set some strategies together. You're going to celebrate together. So it's somebody who's not vaguely or not just sort of a distant, even a distant mentor, but it's someone who's in there with you. You add that social component if you're serious about shifting your habits. Going to the gym, of course, it's the gym buddy, but really get serious about here's what I want to work on, here's what I'm working towards by the end of the month, etc. So really getting in there with specifics with one another. And then celebrating those wins together. Go on the journey together, much more likely to shift and improve your habits. Third, if you want to improve your habits specifically in a way that's going to help you at work to become more successful in your career, a lot of people will talk about goals and goal setting, and that's absolutely right. You do need to get clear on your goals. It's simply, and James Clear, the author of Atomic Habits, talks about that research shows that it's not so much goals. Goals are important. Please do set goals. But really, it's what comes with goals that a lot of people leave out. It's the second part, and that is schedule. Scheduling it. The very best weightlifters hit the gym at the same time. Several times a week. The very best writers sit down at the same time in the morning and start writing, or whatever the time is for them, but they don't wait until the last second. The very best people at doing whatever the thing is that you want to do, that's going to form your habit, and that is going to help you to be more successful. It's going to help you to reach those goals, form those habits, and to be more successful. So for you, you might be thinking, I know I need to network more. I need to continue to expand or to nurture my network. So you just schedule it. You do that once a week on Thursday at 3:00. You sit down and you take a look at your quote Rolodex and you say, okay, so who haven't I talked with in a long time? Or here's a project I'm working on, and here's someone that I'd like to get in touch with, et cetera, et cetera. You do it systematically. You don't just say, oh, I really need to network more. You create a schedule around it. Or that schedule is, I'm going to one networking event a month. But the schedule impacts the habit, which impacts your outcomes. If you want to increase your success, you're going to increase the effectiveness of your habits. And you're going to look at, okay, how can I use self-bribery? How can I take something that's tough to do and link it with something pleasurable? So I get the pleasurable thing when I've done the tough thing. You're going to look at, all right, who would be a great accountability buddy that we're both working on something? We're getting very specific. Here's the goal. Here are the actions. And then we celebrate the wins on the other end. And then you're going to look at scheduling it. It's not just setting that goal, but really, what's my regular schedule around this thing? What's my regular schedule around practicing this thing? And all in all, you do that and you stick with it, you will create new neural circuitry in your brain that will form a new habit. And then everything becomes easier and your outcomes will reflect all of your hard work.